Hello there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ruth, aka Inky of Inkymakes. I'm an artist based in the northeast of England, and I'm here today to have a little catch up with everyone because it's been a while since I've posted. I've done a few sort of shorts recently because I've been so busy preparing for an art market, and that was at Whitby Goth Fest at the end of April, just gone. It's the beginning of May now. I think, spoiler alert, overall it was definitely worth it. In fact, I want to do more art markets this year. It's really given me sort of a fire to do more in-person type of events. So I'm hopefully going to be doing an art market down in Leeds in October, which seems a bit, kind of a bit further from where I'm based right now. But like I did live in Leeds for quite some time, so it would be nice to also catch up with some old friends there. And it is only a one night event, which that is something that I would say some of the key pointers of doing an art market. I would say if you're just starting out, my advice, and all of this is just based on my experience, my personal experience, is I would try and keep it local when you can, because the main thing is I've found that monetary wise, like Whitby Goth Fest was good, but if like I've literally just sat down and done all my accounts as well, because that desperately needed doing. I had so many receipts. I was like drowning in receipts. And I was looking at that, and I have definitely, like, if you were to like add up all of the materials, the startup fees, all of that jazz, like, paying for your table, like all of that, as much as I did really well, I'm still right at the very beginning of building up my business. And like probably a lot of people have heard, like, that old saying is like, you don't make any profit in your first year of starting up a business. And it's like, pottery especially is a very expensive sort of endeavour, because like wheels aren't particularly cheap. I mean, you can get cheap wheels, but it's dependent on, like, I mean, that's good if you've not got much of a budget at the time, that's fair enough. But like I got a Shimpo wheel, and that was like, fairly expensive, and then I've got a kiln as well, and I'm still paying that off. And so like, it's monetary wise, as much as I did well, I didn't do anywhere near as well as, like, say, other people who were selling merch, because I think my overheads were quite a lot to begin with, and the amount of time that it takes to make my things. I sold like predominantly ceramics, so everything's literally handmade, and I'm sure I don't have to explain this, but it's all just comes out of nothing. Like, I'm creating a full product from start to finish, which, it's opposed to doing just prints that can take a lot longer. So there was that to bear in mind. However, I met a lot of really lovely people, and I got a lot of really good feedback, and it's also kind of like spurred me on to kind of kick me up the butt to like get my online store. So that's another exciting thing that's just recently happened. Like yesterday, my store went online. That is www.inkymakes.com. So I'm very proud of that. I took a week of doing that. So I came back from Whitby Goth Fest, and people were asking me, have you got an online store? And this was something that I'd kept saying, yes, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it. But then when you're confronted by actual real life people and potential customers who were saying, do you have an online store? I was like, Ruth, you really need to get this sorted. So I just spent like solidly the last week working on that, and I'm proud of it. I think it looks like a pretty well put together site. I had a bit of a mare with the postage settings, though. I don't feel like that was as intuitive as it could have been on Big Cartel, because that's the platform I've ended up going with. But everything else with Big Cartel I would really recommend. And I think it's sort of important to, like, if you can, sort of tackle both in-person and online selling, because it just opens up your market completely. And there's other ways of doing it. It doesn't have to be like, say, Big Cartel. There's obviously Etsy, there's even eBay. You could sell like your artwork on there. Plenty of people do. So yeah, that's, you know, something to bear in mind if you're just starting out. That's certainly something that, like, I'm glad that I've done. Another like tip, if you're thinking about doing a market, is get a card reader. I personally went with Zettel. I think it's just a very straightforward program to use. Like, its system's very intuitive. Like, you pay up front for a handset, like a card reader, and there's different things you can get, but I just got the little pocket shop and go type of one, and I think it worked out. I think there was an offer on at the time, and it worked out at about £30 to £40, and then they take a percentage of every transaction. And in my case, like, obviously, like smaller purchases, I did put a surcharge on that. So that was something else that you have to think about when you're selling in person. What else happened? What else would I would say was, yeah, just try and do everything that you can to, like, keep your costs down, because like this particular market that I took part in, it was over 3 days, and it was a good distance away from where I actually live. So it wasn't a case of being able to come backwards and forwards, like commute each day to it. So, like, there was accommodation involved. Now, my mum and dad also, like, absolutely love Whitby, so they decided to go on holiday at the same time, which was really lovely, because they said that I could bunk in with them, which saved me a lot of money, because I found that when talking to other traders, like, the cost of accommodation completely, like, made or, like, broke people's weekends. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was a big outgoing, and a lot of people were saying that, like, oh, if we do it next time, we'll probably camp. Now, like, your girl likes creature comforts, and I love nature, but I'm not particularly the camping kind. So even if I did have all the gear to go camping, I don't know if it's something that I would want to do. Maybe in the future, needs must, I don't know, like, maybe I would change my mind on that. But, like, yeah, like, that's something that would have been a huge outgoing for me if I had to pay for all my accommodation. But, you know, and I mean that, like, there is other ways of doing it, you know, like, if there's a few of yous, like, all doing, like, an art market together, like, you could perhaps, like, club together and get accommodation and share the costs on that. That's another way of doing it, I suppose. And that might be something I'll consider in the future, because that would be pretty cool as well, like, having a group of arty friends together, like, doing an art market together and sort of hanging out as well and catching up. That would be pretty cool. And yeah, like, simple things as well, like taking your own food and drink. It's raining, so you might be able to hear the rain hitting off the roof of my shed, because that's where I'm at right now, in the shed. So yeah, it was a really good experience, and I definitely, like, met some lovely people who had some great advice, like, gave me advice that on things that, like, perhaps I had a clear idea of what sort of things I wanted to make, and some people maybe kind of gave me suggestions of methods of doing things to make it faster to produce, or, like, tweaking it slightly to make it not cheap, I hate saying cheap, but, like, you know, more affordable to produce and sell. So yeah, it gave me food for thought, and I am really looking forward to doing more art markets this year. Going back to talking about, you know, launching an online shop, why I chose Big Cartel over other platforms. So I knew other people who had shops on Big Cartel. Originally, I was all for just producing like a profile on Etsy, because like I'm still relatively unknown. Like I don't have very many followers yet, and it takes time obviously to build up an audience. And I thought, oh well, Etsy, like that's in the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Like I myself, like if I'm looking for like, you know, quirky sort of handmade gifts, I go to Etsy. But the only problem with Etsy, and that this was explained to me by another fellow artist, is lots of people are on Etsy. Like lots of artists are on Etsy, and you end up being completely swallowed up by just the sheer volume of creators on there. So it's still quite hard to be found, so to speak, on there. So I'm not completely ruling out Etsy though. I think I'm just going to have to approach it in a different way. I'm also not a huge fan, like a lot of other artists that I follow online have said things about trading on Etsy, like there's pressure on sellers to advertise their work with free shipping. Now, like I'm not here to judge about people putting free shipping. I do get it as a, like, you know, as a selling tool. It does look pretty good thinking, oh well, it's free shipping. But I think most people realise, especially if they stop to think about it, like it's not free shipping. It just means that those costs are going to get swallowed up by the seller, the fee that they put up their item for. So like something that would maybe have been put up for £20 is now £25 because of the postage. And that in itself, like, I don't think is necessarily like, well, it's not a bad thing, but I think it sort of makes the whole postage industry a little bit faceless. And like what I mean by that is that like it's actually a real human being that is sorting and delivering your post. And I don't know, I think it's sort of one of those services that I think maybe people don't really think about. I think like in England, like in the UK, we not long since had a lot of strikes with Royal Mail. And I think that did, you know, bring it to people's minds that these are people's jobs. This is people's livelihoods. Like it's creating, you know, like a means for people to feed their families, because it's a job. Like at the end of the day, it's not just, you know, some magic that happens that like literally like, you know, your item just appears on your doorstep. And I think I've probably watched maybe one or two like sort of documentaries that have stayed with me about like delivery and people being worked to the bone basically. So yeah, like I think it's something that I'm becoming interested in, like green economy, and like it's all well and good like having things cheaper, but like how is that affecting real people? So yeah, and that's no judgment to anyone out there, and like especially with myself, because like I'm gonna make mistakes. I think with my shop, like I'm trying my very best to be as eco-friendly as possible. And anyone who's made an order on my shop, thank you so much. I'm sure you're going to notice there's a lot of recycled packaging there. Big businesses need to be leaned on more to take responsibility and perhaps adopt a more green approach to how they do things. It definitely needs to change, because I think people are working themselves to death literally just to survive, and that's not cool. Like, you know, it's not good for anyone. I'm getting really deep here. I mean, this was supposed to be just about me like talking about Whitby Goth Fest, and now I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, like I don't know, there was things about that as well, like going back to the accommodation factor of doing Whitby Goth Fest. Another trader told me that they'd paid like X amount for 3 nights in Whitby, and it was pretty reasonable. Like I can't remember the exact amount, so I'm not going to say, but it sounded reasonable at the time. And then that they said that they looked it up for October, which is, you know, Halloween, the ultimate goth holiday. So all the prices had like shot up. Like the same accommodation, which apparently was completely basic, clean, but very basic, was like 3 times the price. And it's like, again, you can't blame people for trying to make money. And I mean, Whitby, like, I would say a huge part of their economy as a town, like, is sort of built on Goth Fest. Like, that's an event that happens twice a year, and it brings in a lot of tourists, and not just goths, like people who come to see people in costume and like in they're like looking fabulous and, you know, unusual and strange and all that. And it's like a whole huge event. And I think there is sort of like a happy medium with trying to make a living, which everyone is entitled to make a living, but then it's like, are you strangling sort of the golden goose? You know, like, I think really compared to a lot of big sort of events, the tables were like fairly reasonable. Like, they don't put up the prices either for like October. In fact, I think if you return, you get like a percentage off, so that is even better. Richard's gonna have his work cut out with this video, and I'm sorry if you're like watching this and you're like, I start in one place and then I go off on a complete tangent, and then I'm distracted by things that are going on in the garden right now, and then there's the rain falling on the roof of the shed, so that's distracting me as well. Like, my head is fried at the minute because I've just been on the go. Like, it feels like I've been on the go for like since the beginning of the year, just making things, and I need to get better with just sort of drawing a line under things and getting on with it. So yeah, sorry about this video. It is a total ramble all over the place. Yeah, like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think in the future videos, I want to do things a little bit more light-hearted, like, that aren't even necessarily art related as such. More of like a day in the life, because I quite enjoy watching those kinds of videos. I tend to watch like all sorts of different random things that I think a lot of people have even said on their own videos. They're like, I don't know who's going to want to watch this. I'm that person, I want to watch it, so, you know, why not? I might as well just join the gang on the day in the life videos. So yeah, I'll leave it there, and until next time, bye bye.